Gentlemen, for one, Spencer Dinwiddie, the Smoothie King himself, is back in Dallas. He had a chance to come back to Dallas this past season, but decided to go team up with Bron and Tinseltown in Los Angeles with the Lakers. Didn't work out necessarily for him all that well, or the Lakers. But now, this offseason, Spencer Dinwiddie is back. Of course, he was a hero during the Mavericks Western Conference final run a couple years ago, that big game that he had in Game 7 against the Suns. Bobby, talking to me about the returning Spencer Dinwiddie and his season profile this upcoming year.
Mom, can you take me and my friends to Juice Land, please? Spencer Dinwiddie last season across games with the Nets and Lakers averaged 10.5 points, 4.7 assists per game, shot just 39% from the floor. A majority of his shots came from beyond the three-point line. He was a 33.7% three-point shooter, but that number rose to almost 39% with the Lakers when many of them were catch and shoot. Obviously, everybody remembers his time with the Mavs. He's a pretty good catch and shoot three-point shooter, struggled a little bit off the bounce. He signed a veteran minimum contract, so he's making just $2 million this season on a one-year deal. I wouldn't say quite a prove-it deal from him, but he is about to be 31, 32, and so it's kind of like, all right, how much you got left? Let's see what you can do on a really good team.
I would say, just going back to, he's a pretty good catch and shoot three-point shooter. I think that's fairly accurate. I might raise it to very good, especially on corner threes.
Corner threes, incredible corner three shooter.
Last 2 seasons, 50.8%.
Oh my God!
And the Mavericks like taking
really
corner
good.
threes. They do like taking corner threes for sure. So over 50% is a great number for him. What are the expectations for Spencer coming back? We know how deep this team is this upcoming year, 10, 12 deep. Spencer Dinwiddie could be a spot starter at times for a Luka or a Kyrie Irving. What do you feel like his role, Tim, is going to be coming back to the Mavericks with how deep this team is this year?
It's the big question. We don't know for sure. I think a lot of things are pointing to him being that emergency off the bench guy when Dallas is missing its stars or needs depth. There's a path to him establishing a rotation role, or at least at times a rotation role. A lot of it comes from that shooting. The idea that you can put him in the corner, you can put him above the break, and he's going to knock down those shots. If you're looking, for everybody who thinks and wants, and I think fans should want Jaden Hardy to be in the rotation. Is there more? Is there more that Hardy does that Dinwiddie doesn't? No, that's kind of one of the questions.
Spencer Dinwiddie can do Jaden Hardy, but Jaden Hardy can't sing Spencer Dinwiddie.
Exactly.
No.
And Jaden Hardy, no, this isn't a Jaden Hardy preview. If he improves, and he's a young player who has a chance to improve going into his third year, that's the hope for him. But if you're thinking about what Spencer Dinwiddie does, outside of a little bit of the downhill attacking, he's just a really good three-point shooter. He's a taller defender. I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie is a great defender, but he can be very spacey. He can hurt your defensive structure. But there's no doubt that just being 6'5" is helpful on the defensive end. So when you look at Dinwiddie, this is somebody who is right there, ready to pass somebody who I think should probably, a lot of us believe should be in the rotation over him. But if they're not up to the standards, he's right there. He's a veteran. You know exactly what you're getting from him.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the role that he can play. And so it kind of does come down to the players around him. But don't count him out, I guess, is what I'd say. And there's definitely room and minutes for him when players do miss time.
I don't think Dinwiddie is competing with Hardy for minutes. I think he's competing with Exum for minutes. I think Hardy's an off-ball player. Dinwiddie is an on-ball guy. Exum generally on-ball guy, especially if it's Luka or Kyrie is out of the game or not playing at all.
Which is interesting that you're saying that he would compete with Exum for minutes, because Exum is the better defender of the two, and that may be a little bit more valuable on that
but
end.
I mean, we saw, last year going through the full season with Exum and Hardy, the Mavs really valued, and they were hurting for more playmaking. So going into the offseason, they made it a priority to add more playmaking. I think if they thought they were set there, you'd probably bring in Dennis Smith Jr., or you'd go get.
Was our Mark Stein reported either Dennis, as you mentioned, Dennis Smith Jr. or Taylor Horton Tucker was one of the other guys.
Yeah, Taylor Horton Tucker, guys that
now,
are a little.
Taylor Horton Tucker is an on-ball player.
Yeah.
Whereas
he plays
Dennis
a different
Smith,
position, kind of.
That's true.
He's like wing.
Dennis Smith definitely is more of an off-ball guard, and obviously, we say off-ball guard. You're still
he's
supposed to dribble
defending the guy with the ball, but he's not a facilitator. Whereas they brought in Dinwiddie to make plays. You know?
But I think he can be that off-ball player as well in a
Yeah,
pinch
yeah, yeah.
if you need him to be.
But that's what gives him the advantage over a guy like Exum, is that he is a good and willing catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. He's probably a better playmaker. Last year, despite, like, in my opinion, I get nervous every time he throws a lob, all right? But he rated as one of the best alley-oop, like, connection dudes in the NBA last year. Like, lob passes. Yeah, passes to guys for dunks. Like, he was near or at the very top of the league for most of the year. And so
I think we're framed because he has some that go like over the backboard.
Yeah, he can be a little wild with it. He can be a little wild
every now
sure.
and then. Yeah,
yeah. Like, buddy, that's JaVale McGee. That is not Wemby or something that you're throwing the ball to. But he is good playmaker, good catch and shoot guy. I would say he's a lesser perimeter defender than Exum and Grimes, and is probably at around the level that Hardy is. But if the Mavs liked what they had in Hardy and Exum, they wouldn't have brought in Dinwiddie. And so I think they value the thing that he can bring that those guys can't, which is good, reliable, consistent playmaking.
Yeah, I think one of the things that comes to my mind is trust when it comes to Spencer Dinwiddie. We mentioned a little bit earlier how he helped the Mavericks make that run to the West Finals a couple of years ago. That's huge when a team is in a position to have the expectations that it does to try to get back to at least the Western Conference Finals or make another deep playoff run. Trusted ball handlers and playmakers. And one of the things I love about Dinwiddie is that he's not afraid to attack off the dribble as well. One of the signature moments from that playoff run a couple of years ago, him driving the lane and posterizing Rudy Gobert, in that series against Utah. He is not afraid of the moment and willing to go and attack the rim. That's another element of playmaking that you guys are discussing. That
sometimes
I think
to his detriment, though.
I'd rather have that attacking style, though. At least I know he's not afraid of the moment. He's willing to attack. But
how is it to his detriment?
Yeah, he's not going to pass up any shots. That's for sure.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's true.
It's to his detriment because sometimes, now this is especially the case during the 22-23 season, which luckily we almost don't have to talk about ever again. We're almost to that point. Kind of the same thing that we saw from Derek Jones in the playoffs. So, like, if you're just trying to make something happen, you're dribbling into the trees, and you're just not that guy. Like, you just cannot finish over them the way that Luka or Kyrie can with all the different kind of floater packages, layup packages they have. So you go to the rim, force a shot at the rim. It has no chance. You're behind the play. Boom, it's a 4-on-3 or a 3-on-2 the other way. And the Mavs just don't have, for the most part, they don't have the horses to defend in transition that way. So you've got to be careful. You've just got to be careful.
But it was more of a problem for Spencer Dinwiddie in Dallas that 22-23 season than it was 21-22.
Right, yeah.
And so I do...
He can take backups off the dribble, for sure.
I think his game is a little bit scalable. I think him coming off the bench against backups is the right place for him. I know we even keep talking about him as a star replacement or like a star fill-in when Luka or Kyrie are out. Dinwiddie can slot right in. I don't think that has to mean that he slots right into the starting rotation.
Sure.
I just think that he slots into bigger minutes. You can still keep him in a bench role, and it can just be the Kyrie show or the Luka show early on. You can put Exum up in there. You can put somebody else in there. I think there's a lot of options. You can put Najee in there, who is kind of maybe that's the balance that you're looking for, where you have kind of a point forward type player, not in very small doses, but somebody who is certainly confident enough and capable enough to dribble the ball at times, to create off the dribble, at least for himself, if not others. And so, yeah, it's a good situation for Dallas to be in. And I just think that his game is more scalable the more talent he's around.
And I mean, they got him on the minimum.
Hero instincts.
Yeah, they got him on the minimum. So they're not like necessarily obligated to play him 25 minutes a game.
Although he's very capable of doing so.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's kind of found money in a sense if he can be that guy.
Yeah.
And he had some good moments with the Nets, and he had some pretty good moments with the Lakers too. But 2-3 years ago is a long time. Once you get to be that age, and he has an extensive injury history. But if 14-15 games that Luka misses and the 15-20 games that Kyrie misses, Dinwiddie can slide in and give you 25-30 good minutes, whether it's as a starter or off the bench on a minimum. That's great. That's fantastic. But I think the good thing is, as is the case with Hardy and Exum and Grimes and really all the guards that are not named Luka and Kyrie, they don't need any of them to be great all the time. Like, you have so much insurance, and you have the luxury of having two of the best of all time, playing, and Klay obviously as well.
And that's what Dinwiddie kind of feels like, a little bit of a luxury based off of what he's capable of bringing and how deep this team is. He can be a luxury piece.
Yeah, so I just feel like Kid's going to ride the hot hand. Hey, if you're struggling, doesn't matter. We don't need you. Not in like a I don't want to play with you anymore kind of thing. But like someone else is going to have it going. You just won't play tonight.
What have you thought about the reception that Dinwiddie has gotten from whether you've seen it online or folks you've talked to about him now coming back based off of some of the previous comments that he made about, mommy and daddy and this, that, and the other, and then of course choosing the Lakers and now coming back to this.
You say something like that, you got to eat your words. Own up to it, move on.
I think the last time I saw a tweet about from on Mavs Twitter about Dinwiddie, it was like, oh yeah, I just remember Dinwiddie's on the Mavericks. I don't think anybody really cares. I do wonder.
People cared last year. They did.
They had real thoughts last year about it. Yes,
people cared last year. What I do think stands out about all this, and this is more from Dinwiddie's perspective, he hasn't really gone out and talked about. He hasn't done any podcast appearance that I've seen, anything like that.
Is that an invitation I'm hearing?
It certainly could be.
Spencer?
You're welcome, Spencer, to come on DLLS Mavs.
But the fact that he
sure.
went to the Lakers and he was playing every game for them off the bench, and he had this choice and he had another choice this time around, and he's like, okay, I am going to choose Dallas. I don't think he's coming in here expecting to be in the rotation. I expect he thinks his role is going to be what we just described, that there's going to be a lot of stretches throughout the season where he's needed, where he's called upon, where he is outperforming other guards. But for him to not choose the Mavericks and then choose the Mavericks and understand what this team is and come here on a minimum, I just find it really hard to believe that any player signing for the minimum, but especially any player signing for the minimum on a starter or a team that just went to the finals, you can't be expecting that you're guaranteed any more than 50 games.
It is really neat to be in that position, though, where guys are coming here for the minimum.
And
that's just really cool.
And who knows if a trade presents itself, Dinwiddie could be a valuable trade piece as well. If something unexpected presents itself where you potentially...
minimum guys is tough. It's tough to trade players on the minimum, but again, it's such a low risk thing.
Yeah.
It is literally the minimum.
Yeah.
Like you cannot legally pay a guy less than that. And so it's a very, very low risk deal for the Mavs, and for Dinwiddie, it potentially could pay huge dividends if he has another good year.
The scenario would be something more like Dinwiddie makes Grimes expendable. Mm-hmm. But somebody wants to take a Grimes flyer because Grimes shows enough. But
or Exum or Hardy.
Or Exum. Yeah. Hardy certainly is the obvious candidate. Just kind of trying to think through the team. Like Grimes is the one guy who I think could pop and actually show a little bit, or like actually.
But if he does, man, then you want to keep him.
Yeah, I know.
Especially
I know.
now that
I don't see a scenario where he
bills.
builds value, but also is on the trading block. But I don't know. Maybe Dallas is looking realistically at its expenses going forward.
Oh, they're definitely going to make a move. They have too many guards.
Yeah.